Coming up on 5 Minute News. Trump indicted on 10 counts by Georgia grand jury. Hunter Biden's lawyers say some plea deal is valid after special counsel announcement. And judge rules for young activists in U.S. climate change trial. It's Tuesday, August 15. I'm Anthony Davis. Disgraced former President Donald Trump was hit with a sweeping fourth set of criminal charges on Monday when a Georgia grand jury issued an indictment accusing him of efforts to overturn his 2020 election loss to Joe Biden. The charges brought by Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis add to the legal woes facing Trump, the frontrunner in the race for the Republican nomination for the 2024 presidential election. The sprawling 98-page indictment listed 19 defendants and 41 criminal counts in all. All of the defendants were charged with racketeering, which is used to target members of organized crime groups and carries a penalty of up to 20 years in prison. Among the other defendants were Mark Meadows, Trump's former White House chief of staff, and lawyers Rudy Giuliani and John Eastman. Trump and the other defendants charged in this indictment refused to accept that Trump lost, and they knowingly and willfully joined a conspiracy to unlawfully change the outcome of the election in favor of Trump, the indictment said. The indictment cites a number of crimes that Trump or his associates allegedly committed, including falsely testifying to lawmakers that election fraud had occurred and urging state officials to violate their oaths of office by altering the election results. Prosecutors also cited the breach of a voting system in rural Georgia County and the harassment of an election worker who became the focus of conspiracy theories. It also mentions an alleged scheme to subvert the U.S. electoral process by submitting false states of electors, people who make up the Electoral College that elects the president and vice president. The indictment reaches across state lines, saying that Trump advisors, including Giuliani and Meadows, advanced the conspiracy by calling officials in Arizona, Pennsylvania, and elsewhere, seeking to change the outcome in those states. Trump persists in falsely claiming he won the 2020 election, although dozens of court cases and state probes have found no evidence to support his claim. Attorneys for Hunter Biden are pushing to keep part of a plea deal they reached with the prosecutor, whose new status as special counsel has intensified the tax investigation into the president's son ahead of the 2024 election. As House Republicans continued their own investigations, Biden's attorney argued in court documents that an agreement sparing him prosecution on a felony gun charge still is in place, even though the plea deal on misdemeanor tax offenses largely unraveled during a court appearance last month. His lawyer argues the Justice Department decided to renege on its end of the deal on tax charges. The agreement on the gun charge also contains an immunity clause against federal prosecutions for some other potential crimes. Biden plans to abide by the terms of that agreement, including not using drugs or alcohol. Prosecutors, who largely dictated the agreement after inviting them to begin plea negotiations in May, should also be bound by it, he argued. Hunter Biden's history of addiction and financial dealings have trailed the political career of his father. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said of the president on Monday, he loves his son and he's proud of him overcoming his addiction and how he's continuing to build his life. The judge who heard the U.S.'s first constitutional climate trial earlier this year has ruled in favor of a group of young plaintiffs who had accused state officials in Montana of violating their right to a healthy environment. The challengers' lawyers described the first-of-its-kind ruling as a game-changer and a sweeping win, which campaigners hope will give a boost to similar cases tackling the climate crisis. In a case that made headlines around the U.S. and internationally, 16 plaintiffs aged 5 to 22 had alleged the state government's pro-fossil fuel policies contributed to climate change. In trial hearings in June, they testified that these policies therefore violated provisions in the state constitution that guarantee a clean and healthy environment, among other constitutional protections. Yesterday, Judge Kathy Seeley said that by prohibiting government agencies from considering climate impacts when deciding whether or not to permit energy projects, Montana is contributing to the climate crisis and stopping the state from addressing that crisis. The challengers had alleged that they have and will continue to be harmed by the dangerous impacts of fossil fuels and the climate crisis. Similar suits have been filed by young people across the U.S., but Held v. Montana was the first case to reach a trial. 5 Minute News is an Evergreen podcast covering politics, inequality, health and climate, delivering independent, unbiased and essential world news daily.